Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, if you drop the dualistic perspective, what are you left with? If you drop the right and wrong perspective in you, what are you left with? Do this little exercise and see what's going to happen momentarily. When you drop the right and wrong perspective in you, it puts you in the observer stance. This exercise puts you in the observer stance. You take the seat of the observer. That itself is the momentary peace, the momentary ease. And the enlightenment journey, the spiritual journey, is about making this stance permanent. This stance itself is the consciousness itself. When you drop the dualistic view, you anchor in singularity, the non-dual state of who you are. When we hold certain view, there's a division, there's separation. When you drop the view, there's a union with yourself. You take the seat of the observer. And the spiritual path is referencing everyone to take the seat of the observer, and that is true happiness, that is true freedom. Right now, if there's inner suffering in life, that suffering is caused by holding on to the dualistic view, holding on to duality. Duality means there is a yes and no world, view, negative and positive mind. And holding on to this, attaching to this dualistic perspective itself is the ego self. The ego attached to this dualistic world. And this dualistic view, the preference is there because of the experience. Everyone is experiencing. When we are in the world, we are observing. We are experiencing the world. And every experience we go through in life always left us with the residue of the experience, which is the idea. And when we are collecting the ideas, collecting the experience, there are certain experience, our life changing, is life shifting, especially in the positive sense. And that when that is observed, when that is realized, now that kind of moment of life becomes a preference, becomes part of you. And when that is become part of you, that is already an attachment to the experience, attachment to the belief. And when we start to attach to certain experience, and when we try to prolong the game, we don't realize that prolonging the game itself is effort, itself is a struggle. And because of that, the struggle is already there. When we hold on to something, when we attach to something, we are forgetting that every moment, every experience is transient. It's momentary, not permanent. But our ego loves to make things permanent. Ego loves to hold on to things. Ego loves to compartmentalize. Ego seek for upgrade, growth. Ego makes the person in the go-go mode. Basically, all suffering is prolonged in life because of the ego self. Ego self, again, is the self when the self is forgetting that all experience, all ideas are transient. When forgets life itself is a transient. So, ego, when the ego is there is a duality present. Again, the duality is the perspective of right and wrong. And right and wrong is important in the relative world, because if there's no right and wrong, then there would be chaos, because the mind is chaotic. The mind is chaotic means the ego is stubborn. Ego loves to make things personal, neglecting ignoring the universal truth. So, because of the ego, yes and no, right and wrong is needed in the world. That the right and wrong makes the world a better place in the relative world. It gives a boundary that doing this is good, doing this is not good. So that sets the world. That gives the perspective for the people to, hey, you cannot do this and that. This is the way to move forward in life, to create the better world, healthy environment. So definitely yes and no perspective creates that boundary. But when it comes to spiritual freedom, we gotta investigate the yes and no, right and wrong view that we have in us. This right and wrong view is coming from our environment. The view is there. The preference is there because our environment is reinforcing that. And to spiritually free, we gotta investigate why this dualistic view is there. Why we say this thing is right and this thing is wrong. We got to investigate. Investigating is the way to figure out, okay, it makes sense. When you inquiry your mind, your dualistic view, which comes from the world in you, then that inquiry makes you understand why the dualistic view is there, why positivity is good in the world. You understand that. But you don't want to stop there. You got to go beyond the positivity. Going beyond the positivity. Going beyond also the negativity is the way to be free from the mind, free from the duality. The reason to be part of the spiritual practice is because of the suffering. Suffering that is caused by the mind. Right now you listen to the mind. You listen to the mind is the ego is listening to the mind and prolonging the game with the mind. And you have the healthy mind. Great. But also there's a negative mind, especially when there is a conflict, when there's a fluctuation, then the inner struggle unfolds. The fear starts to resurface. So the conflict, the inner struggle, the fear is there, isn't it? Let's not fool around. People, when the truth is missing, the fear is there. When you don't realize the truth of who you are naturally attached to something. You're prolonging your life with certain perspective. And with that, you are prolonging the game in the world. You are attached to that. So what is attachment? Attachment is coming from the place of fear. And the fear is there because of the pain, the struggle. The struggle makes the people to attach, not to go through the struggle. So because of that, fear makes everything, fear makes the people to hold on to things. And what is fear? Fear is also the byproduct of the mind, which is the ego. Fear is also the part of ego. We can say the byproduct of the ego. So, the duality must be dissolved to anchor in the non-dual state of who you are, which is the consciousness itself. And now how to dissolve the duality is investigating your own mind, the mind that you're prolonging, the mind that you're attached to. Looking into your attachment is the, I would say, direct approach to create the inward journey. Looking into your own attachment is a way to make your journey personal. Personal in a way that you're looking into your own mental drama, looking into your emotional drama, emotional conflict. And it's there. It's there in everyone's life. So looking into the attachment makes you looking into your emotional fluctuation, emotional drama. So look into that by asking yourself, why am I attached? Why am I attached to whatever you attached with? Or whatever you're going through in your life right now, at this moment, and you are struggling, ask yourself, why am I fluctuating? So make it personal. The spiritual journey is about pointing fingers at yourself, not at the world. We have been pointing fingers at the world our whole life from our dualistic view, which we copied from the world and putting back in the world, and that's how everyone's life is right now. And pointing fingers at the world is pointing fingers at someone's ego. And when we point fingers at someone's ego, and the world's ego don't like it. The ego doesn't want to be pointed out, especially in a negative sense. Ego doesn't like it. So that's why, because of that, there's more conflict. Example is, like, when you point fingers at your friend, you're pointing fingers at their ego. And you can reflect what happened in the past experience by doing that. There was a conflict between two friends, isn't it? You and your friend. Now that little conflict becomes a massive for a lot of people. And that's how there's a separation, there's division between friends, between partners, between the community. Basically, because of the conflict, pointing fingers at the world, you are wrong, you are wrong. Because of that, it has heightened the conflict to the state of war. War is basically, the war that is happening right now is what? The ego's game. Ego is so afraid to lose the power. And ego is doing everything not to lose power, not to lose control, not to lose the face. And because of that, we can see the biggest ego to the smallest ego. Reflecting on yourself, if you're not in the war, is a small ego. If you all the way to the war level, too much ego, stubborn ego. And all this war is what? The dualistic view. Until we drop the dualistic view, there is no freedom. There's no inner freedom. Definitely some people are understanding better, and they pull themselves back to the neutral state. Neutral state to see the world. But seeing the world from the neutral state still doesn't dissolve the inner freedom. It's just viewing the world from the broad perspective. So the person needs to do that exactly, pulling to the neutral view, neutral state within which I recommend in the beginning, that if you drop the right and wrong perspective in yourself, what you left with? A neutral view. That is taking the seat of an observer. Try it again. Try it. Logically think first. Here, if I drop my view, negative and positive view, right and wrong view, what am I left with? There is a moment of duh, right? Duh. There's a gap. There's a gap between thoughts. It already puts you in the seat of the observer. You are taking the seat of the observer with that. But you will lose it faster. Right now, that taking the seat of the observer is momentary. You want to make this permanent. You want to anchor in the observer state. You want to be that. And you are that. That is the consciousness itself. You are that. Now, how to make that a true reality, unflinching reality? Working on the dualistic view of the mind by tracing the mind backward, by dismantling the mind to see the root cause of the attachment to hold on to the dualistic view, and dissolving the root as well. That's where you encounter fear. And great, you have to encounter fear. Now work on the fear. Trace your fear backward all the way until nothing is left. That is the spiritual journey, working on one's own mind to trace the mind backward until no mind is left. This has to be done to understand the nature of the mind. Understanding the nature of the mind is the way to let go the unnecessary mind that makes the life simpler. Simple life is already freedom. Not true freedom, but there is some level of freedom, some level of ease. And after being thorough of the mind, once you understand the nature of the mind, continue the self-inquiry. Keep tracing every conflict that you go through in life, every idea that comes in you. You trace it back. Why you listen to that idea? When the idea resurfaces and you listen to the idea, you ask yourself, why do you listen to that idea? Why do you listen? Trace it back. And when you trace it back, it makes you thorough, real thorough. And when you have done enough work on dismantling the duality, then when you ask yourself, who am I? That's where your observer side in you catches the ego. The observer side needs to catch the ego self. And when that happens, then the observer, you become the observer. You rest in observer. You rest in who you are, and you drop your you drop your ego. And that dropping the ego, dropping the narratives, is coming home to yourself, resting in who you are, the non-dual state of you, non-dual state of who you are. And that makes the spiritual journey ends, and your easy living truly begins, your authentic life begins. So that's the journey. Okay? The duality must be dissolved to anchor in who you are as a non-dual state, which is the consciousness itself. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope this video makes sense to some extent. Okay, yeah, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.